All right, guys. Today I am with Asisat Edu of Do It Herself Designs. We will be talking about how to balance womanhood and creative entrepreneurship. We will also get some tips on how you can do it yourself when it comes to interior design. I am your host, Love Malfi, and you are watching another episode of Diaspora Divas. So let's talk about Lola. Lola is an amazing woman. She is a master's of education, right? And she teaches, she's a mother, she's a wife, she's a Muslima, she's an interior designer hailing from the DMV. I want to now introduce Miss Edu. So everyone give her a round of applause. No, we're not even in a live studio, but hey Lola, so tell us a little bit about your background story and how you got into interior designing.
Sure. So back in 2017, my husband and I purchased our first home, and our home wasn't a fixer-upper, but when we moved in, I definitely wanted to make the space our own, and I wanted it to reflect our styles and personality. And so immediately we entered the house, moved into the house. I started doing DIY projects, here and there. I then, started learning a few trades on via YouTube, such as like installing light fixtures. And I just saw how much joy it brought myself and my husband and people who came to visit. And I said, I think I actually want to turn this, hobby into a passion and a profession. So turned it into a business, and the rest is history.
Yes, I remember walking into your home the first time and I was like, dang, her house is really tight. Like, I love her house. She knows what she's doing. So I'm really, really glad that you chose to make it a business. And for you, that being said, you managing your interior designing business, and how do you balance that in womanhood? Because that's, I think, the burning question is how do people do that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think most people would tell you or present a facade that it's easy. It's not at all. I think what's helped me is building routines. Also just being honest with myself and with others. Like I have a group of friends that I vent to, who provide me with support and with advice. Um, and I think just also, being conscious of the way that I use my time. Um, Lately, I've been getting a lot of business, and so I've been,
Yes,
yeah, it's a good thing,
it's a
but
good thing.
yeah. But I think what ends up happening is that it pulls me away from like my children, which like it hurt that would hurt any mother. But I'm learning that like if I grind now and sacrifice now, it will pay off at the end of the day. So those are just some things that I'm learning. It's not I can't even lie to you. It's not easy at all. Like I'm literally just figuring it out day by day.
Right.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I personally identify with that whole thing that you just said. We're trying our best, but really, like every day, I'm trying to ask myself, how can I really establish, more balance? How can I make sure that I'm providing the same care and attention to my family as I am to my business? And sometimes it's just really, really hard.
It is.
Well, speaking of that, how tell me about like do it herself and how did you come up with that title and what does that mean to you?
So, as I mentioned earlier, when we first moved into the house, I was doing a lot of DIY projects, and certain things like at first I shied away from doing, but because I'm a kinesthetic and visual learner, I like was like, you know what? Let me instead of calling someone to do it, let me at least try it, and if I fail at it, then I'll call the expert. So that led to me, doing installing light fixtures, doing tiling, painting, just little cosmetic and constructive things around the house.
Hmm.
Um, and so when I started my business, I said, you know what? I'm gonna call this "Do It Herself." one, it speaks to the power in women, right? And it also speaks to my passion for all of this. Um, I I'm not gonna lie, I do work with a few, or I work with a few contractors. So I'm actually not doing everything by myself, but it is
Okay.
important for me to know how things work, know what things are even possible before putting a design together. Um, and also just having a sense of like, is this, is this thing that my client wants feasible? And I am also still very hands-on in a lot of my projects. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that first of all, nobody wants to do it herself. Like, so the fact that you're doing it for all of us. Like me, I don't want to do it myself. So I'm glad that you have taken that, weight off a lot of people. And I think it's so empowering to see you do it, because a lot of women don't want to pick up those type of tasks. And even if you do have contractors, I mean, just the math and, positioning and all that stuff that goes into that, it's like, I don't want to do that. So I'm glad, it's just so empowering to see you do it.
thank,
Um,
thank
with
you.
that being said, tell me about your process. I just saw that you did a big refurbishing of a salon recently, and now I have some pictures and they look beautiful. So tell us about your most recent project with Viola's Touch, and what's your general process with interior design?
Well, I categorize into phases. The first phase is just honestly getting to know my clients. Um, I think that what sets me apart from other interior designers is not only am I, I do some of the work myself, but I really do try to understand who my clients are because I want that to reflect in their space. So, Dale and I have been working on this actually since last year, November. Believe it or not, like that project
Wow.
close to a year. And
Wow.
we have bumps in the road with like getting permits, and then coronavirus happened, and then the government shut down, and just even working with different contractors. That was a challenge in itself. But the first thing I did was get to know who Dale Out was, and I do that with all of my clients. Um, Once I have an understanding of what that is, I then put together some visual designs, and then sit down with my client. We go through what things we will, want to keep, what things we want to stay, and then from there we build a final design. And then once the final design is put together, it's just a matter of us going in to get the work done. And that process, although it's the most exciting process for me, a lot of work does go into it because it's like you're managing different people. There's a timeline you have to stick to, and I'm very, very like big on time. Like if we're trying to get this thing done within a month, my goal is to get it done within a month. Um, there was a video of me. Like I think I was 37 weeks pregnant, and I was on a stool, which is crazy. Yeah, like my husband and I do any like if any client wants a focal wall, he and I we do that together. And so like I said, let me go up here and show what I'm capable of doing. And I think it just shows the strength of women. Um, I'm not strong. I hate to use the word strong because I think it puts it puts a lot of pressure on us as women, but like I wanted to show the strength of women in that video that was captured of me putting up the wood on the wall, the wood framing on the wall.
I think that it's okay to say that you're strong. I just think that you're right. I think women often have this obligation, especially Black women from jump, to like be this superhero. And it's like, well, it doesn't always work like that. But I still think, though, I mean, being 37 weeks pregnant and you did this huge project, I
Yeah,
think
girl.
it's just simply impressive. And I mean, it's amazing. I'm going to take a look at the pictures again because I mean, really, like I'm just really floored. I mean, everything just looks so beautiful. It was just really well done. And I think anyone who is, doing a project like this, if they see these pictures, they're definitely going to want to work with you. So, Granted, everyone probably can't, get this level of project done, or maybe they're not ready. But what are some interior design tips you have for just the average Joe, just trying to make their home look better? Like, what should be their approach?
Um, Definitely go in with a vision, right? If you don't have a vision, it's kind of hard to execute anything. That would be like the first tip. My second tip would be to not be afraid of taking risk, right? Whatever mistakes you make, you can always correct it. It might be costly, but you can always correct it. So, not to be afraid of taking risk. Um, and then in the third, um, have fun with it. Like I think that when we think like a lot, I know for me, I spend a lot of time watching HGTV and like getting ideas, and I know other people do as well. Um, and it may seem kind of time consuming, and it is, but it's really important just to have fun with it. Is you want to make this space a home that you feel comfortable in, that you want to spend time in every day, and so you don't want that process to be a burden or to be a headache. So have fun with it.
Definitely. I mean, I think me personally, like when I'm trying to design my home, sometimes you have a vision and you're like, okay, this is what I want it to look like. And then you put everything together and you're like, but it don't look like that. What are some things that people, I guess, miss the mark on? Is it doing too much? I think that's one kind of fault that I have is like, I like to just put so many things on the wall. Maybe I need to like, keep more in mind like space, colors, those type of things. Because I mean, when you look at your stuff, it's all put together. And I think people are trying to get to that, but they don't really know like what matters and what doesn't.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I think it's a process for even interior designers, right? So when I go into a space, the first thing I'm thinking of is like as you mentioned, the colors, patterns, the client's personality. And then when I put it all together in a I use a virtual app to create spaces. And I think
Mm.
if anyone is thinking of putting, designing their home, like download any of these apps. There's many of them out there. Download it, use it to see what your space can potentially look like before executing it. Um, I in doing that, it gives you an idea of like, oh, does this sofa go well with this? Does
Oh
this area
wow.
go well with the wall? Everything has to be cohesive, and I think that's what people tend to miss. Like, how do I make my space look a little bit more cohesive? I'm usually telling clients, right, because you love this coffee table doesn't necessarily mean it goes well in your space, right? There's a lot of things you may love, but it may not go well in your space. So it's really
You
important to
gotta keep it real with us because
yeah,
some
yeah.
people don't know.
Because then you get the coffee table, you put it with the area rug and with the sofa, and then you paint the walls, and you're like, man, this coffee table doesn't look it doesn't go with everything else in the house. So like just keep that in mind. And then again, using one of those apps to build what you want your space to look like, and just testing the waters. Like I honestly think there's no rules to interior designing. Like anything goes, right? It all depends on what you like. Um, but there has to be a cohesiveness to it.
Definitely. Well, I think that what you mentioned about the apps is very helpful. So that I probably will look into. Do you have any specific apps?
So one that I used to use a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with House.
No, this is all new.
Okay. So House, it's almost like a Wayfair. They sell furniture.
Oh, House. Yes, I am familiar. They have really nice stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So like they also have an app where you can see what furniture looks like in your home.
Mhm.
So that's I really like that app. One that I'm currently using right now is Room Planner. Um, a lot of the items from there, it's from like IKEA, but they
Mhm.
also use other vendors as well. And what I like about that app is that you can literally build your space. So like if my living room has like 3 windows and 4 doors, I can build that in the app and then
Mhm.
pull furniture from their um their list of items and put it in my space to see what works and what doesn't.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's dope. So that's kind of a game changer for me because I never knew that you can do that. So definitely something that I'm gonna try to look into. So my next question is, how would you describe your style of interior design? Do you have a specific style, or is it really just more what your clients want?
It's honestly, it's really what my client wants, right? Um, I do recommend a whole, I give recommendations, I give a lot of tips. Um, and I provide my perspective on things, but it's really important for me to create a design that reflects my client's personality and style.
Mm,
Because at the end of the day, I'm not living in the space. They are. They're gonna have to, deal with it, live in it for as long as they choose to. And so, it's really important for me to understand what is it that they like,
mm.
um, what is their personality, um, and then use that to build a design that complements them.
Definitely. I think, I mean, to be working with different people can be challenging because people have, different expectations when it comes to projects. So I commend you again for doing that. But yeah, because especially with people's homes and they want it to be perfect. So it takes a lot of patience in order to
Yeah,
do that type of job.
yeah, and I've been in education,
That's
many years, so working with our beautiful kids, you have to be very patient. So
yeah.
I've been able to transfer over into interior design.
So I want to switch gears a little bit. Can you tell me about some of the challenges that you have met with becoming a business owner and being a woman and being a Black woman at that?
Girl. I think there's multiple challenges with, all those different roles and aspects of being a Black woman business owner. Um, you, when I do interior designing, I work with a lot of contractors, and in that profession is like heavily male dominant. And
Mm,
so at the very beginning, when I started this business, I had to, sometimes my word wasn't the last word. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm woman one, and I'm, African American. And so over time I've learned how to be assertive in my tone. I've also learned to just, put my foot down and say, this is what it is and this is what we're doing. And, things have definitely gotten better. Like I had to learn um how to be strong in my response when dealing with certain contractors. Um, I think another challenge, and we talked about this a little earlier, but juggling the different roles that comes with being a mom, with being a professional, with being a wife, with being an entrepreneur. Like it's a lot. It's a lot, you know. Um, yeah, like just juggling all of those different roles is like, oh, how do I do it? But I do think I'm learning to give myself more grace,
mm.
to be patient, not to be so hard on myself, and to just know, like, things will be okay. Like I've really been trying to work on my perception of things, and so that's been very helpful.
I want to go back to like what you said when you were talking about working with contractors, and I just find it so just kind of still amazing that people sometimes, man, I hate to say it, and if y'all out there, whatever, but it's just like they kind of have this superiority or like this patriarchal, stance where it's like, well, this is what I want, and I know what I want, and you can't. It's okay, and the world's not going to crash because your word isn't final. So, um, yeah, dealing with that in my profession as well is not fun all the time because you have to kind of deal with that aftermath on your own because you're second guessing, like, is there something that I did that was wrong, or am I tripping, or what? You just don't know. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think confidence has a lot to do with it, and I think in the very beginning, like as you mentioned, I used to second guess myself. But like over time, I think with through practice, you learn to just be assertive and say, this is what it is and this is what we're doing. I really don't care about your opinion, This is how
Right.
it
We don't care. We don't care about your opinion.
is.
No, yeah. I mean, honestly, that's kind of the swag I'm on right now. Because I mean, we are women bosses, and I think it's okay for us to really own that. And people need to just learn to accept that,
Yeah,
especially when you're in fields that are non-traditional. Um,
yeah. And also just being okay with the fact that like some people are gonna call you a bitch. They're gonna say you're that like angry black woman. I
mm,
don't care. I don't care. Think that, right? Like I'm doing my job. I have a job to do, and this is something that I'm passionate about. And so I try not to like let those preconceived notions of what a black woman is or what a black woman should be get to me.
mm, definitely. So I wanted to switch gears. I'm looking at your website, and it's pretty nice. It's laid out. On your website, it says "Understanding you to understand your home interior design." So I know you talked about this a little bit earlier about how you decide to work with clients. Can you kind of run us through your process from start to finish? Do you do a consultation? Like, what is the process, or is it different for everyone?
The process is pretty much the same for everyone. So it starts with the prospective client reaching out to me, and then I have a questionnaire and a brochure that I send via email to those who are interested or who are inquiring of my services. And in that questionnaire, it's like um, my first encounter with who that client is.
Mm,
I ask like, what concept are you going for? What colors are you thinking of? What are some of the things that you're interested in? What spaces are you trying to redesign? And then after the questionnaire is sent to me, I then schedule some time to meet with the client or with the individual because at that point they're not a client per se. Um, but once I go to that first meeting with with the individual, I'm talking to them to learn a little bit more about what is it that they want to get done in their space. Once the contract is signed, I then jump right into creating a virtual design of that space. Once I meet with the client and we're having discussions around what stays and what doesn't, then our job begins. That's when we go in. If anything cosmetic needs to happen, I get my guys in to go in and do the cosmetic work. And then I come in at the very end to decorate the space and to do whatever part of the design or any part of the job that needs to get done. And I started this new thing where the last day or two before the job is completed, I have the client go away
mhm.
to like maybe to a friend's house or to a family member's house. And then on that last day, I reveal the space to them. And I like doing that because I just like to see, the joy that it brings to my clients. Like to come into a space that you weren't really happy with, and then to come into
Yeah.
a new space that like brings you a lot of joy, just it brings me a lot of joy. So yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's like when when people get married and then they walk into the room and it's like, oh, this is your wedding room.
yeah.
Kind of that same vibe. It's like, wow, like look what we've done to transform. Yeah, totally exciting. I think you had me at when you said virtual design. So that in itself is probably another level of creativity, being able to kind of put things into place digitally. But speaking of that, though, I know you mentioned a lot about bringing in your guys, but I've seen how you definitely fix light fixtures and do some dirty work. So tell us, where did you learn that type of thing? We're trying to learn too. So yeah.
Yeah, and look, I'm dropping all of the gems, and they're not like far gems, but I'll drop them here. YouTube. To be honest with you, YouTube.
Yes. Okay.
I'm
Me
a
too.
yep, the YouTube. And what's interesting is that when I go onto YouTube, I specifically look for women who are also doing the job. Like I feel
Yeah.
like the best teachers are women. And so when I go onto YouTube, I actually learned how to put a light fixture up by another lady on YouTube. I found her randomly, and I was like, man, if she can do it, I know for sure I can do it. And she gave me all of the gave all of the steps, and I'm also a visual learner, so it was really helpful having her go through the process and then going through the process myself.
Mm.
And the first light that I installed, I'm gonna tell you, the light when I like turned on the switch, it did not come on. So I'm gonna be honest with you, like you're gonna make mistakes. That's just what's gonna happen. But over time, like I've gotten so it's become so automatic.
Mhm.
Like something that used to take me maybe an hour to do, I can do within like 10 to 15 minutes.
Well, yeah, I mean, practice makes perfect. So I think that's totally amazing. The audacity. You don't want me doing anything like that in your house. But yeah, I love it. Um, so I guess one of my final questions for you is, what is the hardest thing you're facing right now? Like, I know that's kind of a loaded question, and you may have already answered that in some capacity, but kind of just tell us a little bit more. What's the hardest thing you're facing, and what is some advice maybe that you can give to some people out there who are women entrepreneurs, who are creative women entrepreneurs like yourself?
Yeah. So like other than juggling the different roles that I'm juggling right now, I would say support. Like I think, and Nafi and you and I have spoken about this before. Like um, we say that we support each other, but that doesn't always happen. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
And
I don't even. I was just talking to someone about this the other day, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think that when you're starting a new business, and I think you and I are similar in the sense that like we are just into many things, right? So like when we start
Proudly,
something new,
proudly.
you said what?
I said proudly, proudly I am. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that people perceive it as, oh man, she's doing something else, she's doing something different. What is she into now? Oh, it's not gonna last long. There's just all of these assumptions that are made about what you're doing. And I feel like sometimes you're not taken seriously until you're able to show the work that you are capable of doing. And it's hurtful at times, like again, we talked about it before, but like, when you're starting a business, you just have a lot of people in your ear
Mm.
just saying all of those hurtful and meaningful things, or maybe not even saying anything at all, right? Like they don't support you, they don't put you on Instagram, you're not like advertising what you're doing. And I had to tell myself, uh, maybe a few months ago, hasn't even been that long ago, that like I can't allow what people think of me or what people don't do to hinder me from doing what I know is important to me. I can't. Because if I do, then I mean, what am I here for? Why am I doing this? And I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it because it's what makes me happy. And so, for all of you, girls and guys out there who are trying to start a business,
Mm.
it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very hard because it's like it's gonna mess with your psyche. But you just have to grind. You have to grind and reflect on your purpose. Reflect on the purpose.
Definitely. Like, so, I mean, this question always comes up for a lot of entrepreneurs because it's very hard to become discouraged. What I have come to learn in my young wisdom is that, first of all, some people, they're still trying to deal with their own thing. So they may not be able to show up for you because they haven't yet been able to show up for themselves in a way. So that's one thing. And then number two is that, like, you just got to cherish everybody as much as you can. The way I see it is that, even if, someone doesn't support me or whatever, at this point, I'm just trying to bring all positivity into my life. So I used to get really upset. Like, I used to be the person who gets upset if someone didn't do anything, but it just took so much energy out of me. And I was like, you know what? It's not even working anymore. Like, let me just be happy. And if you do support me, great. If you don't, whatever, it's still all love at the end. I think that people are always going to be people, so it's hard to like really expect them, even people close to you. Like, family, close friends, they may disappoint you, and that's just part of life. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I agree with definitely what you're like what you said earlier about you know and I won't necessarily say like not expecting too much from other people, but just assuming the best in people as well. Like
Yeah,
everyone is
totally.
doing their own, yeah, like everyone is going through their own thing. I can't expect them to ride for me the way I would like for them to ride for me. And that's fine. Like just being okay with that.
Yeah, totally. And that's just like lesson 102 of entrepreneurship.
For
But
sure.
once you get that, it's all good. So, but yeah, Lola or Aziza, I know Lola, so I think it's just wonderful to see your evolution, and it's been great talking with you. I want everyone to go and support Miss Aziza Edu in her interior design business, which is top class. You can find her at DIH_designs on all social media. And she also has a website, www.dihdesigns.com. So make sure you check her out next time you are trying to, revamp your whatever space. Honestly, she's your go-to girl. So it's been a pleasure talking with you on this episode of Diaspora Divas, where we get to see entrepreneurs do their thing. So thank you so much, Lola.
Thank you so much, Nafi. I appreciate this. I appreciate you.
No problem. Until next time.